Thank you. Thank you, and I'm very honored to be here with all of you and so many distinguished speakers and patrons and guests. And I am so overjoyed by the focus of this conference, the theme of this conference, the hashtag for this conference, Free Iran. It's been a long road, and there's still a few more miles to travel, and the road has been littered by the blood of your sons and daughters, fathers and mothers, relatives, friends. That book contains 20,000. There have been over 120,000 that have been martyred, and it's to them that we owe where we are today. So let's just take a moment to think about them, because we wouldn't be here today without them. We also wouldn't be here today without the leadership of Madame Rajavi through the difficult times and the good times and the horrible times. She's always remained hopeful that we could stand up and say, Free Iran. Well, we now can do that. Our brothers and sisters that were kept in Iraq are now in Albania due to her efforts and the efforts of Senator Torricelli, Judge Mukasey, Louis Freeh, so many others that all worked so hard to get it done. And we want to thank the Albanian government, and we want to thank the Albanian people for their humanity, for their big heart, and for their decency. I wish my country had stepped up and done that, and I am in great awe and respect for what they did. But due to all those efforts, we can now focus on something a little bit different. We have a different world in many ways. We have a different administration in Washington. Did you know that? And a different set of principles and a different way of looking at the world. And under President Trump's leadership, I believe he can help us rid the Iranian people of the oppression that has subjected them for so long. You only need to read his speech in Saudi Arabia to see that he is laser focused on the danger of Iran to the freedom of the world, not just the freedom of the region, but the freedom of the world. Unlike prior administrations, he's not in a state of denial. He understands how it would be extraordinarily dangerous for the world to have a nuclear Iran. He realizes how dangerous for the world it is to have an Ayatollah who is a theocratic dictator and a madman. And he also realizes, as we do, that the only way we're going to have stability in the Middle East and stability in the world is exactly the theme of your conference, a free Iran, built on the principles that we all share. And we can never repeat them too often so that people understand what the MEK, what the resistance movement stands for. Because they try through propaganda to demonize you. Here's what you stand for. You stand for freedom of religion. You stand for freedom for women. You stand for free elections. You stand for the rule of law. You stand for respecting human dignity and human rights. That's what we need in Iran, and that's why you're the hope of Iran. So, finally, on this long road that we have, we can kind of see an end of it. We can finally, I think, see an end. I don't know when it's going to happen. I didn't know when the Soviet Union was going to fall, but I knew it was going to fall. I don't know exactly when this regime is going to fall, but I know it is, and I believe it's going to happen sooner rather than later, and I am very confident it's going to happen in my lifetime. And I'm not... But just like we didn't get here by just saying it, we got here by the blood of those martyrs and the work of those people and Madame Rajavi and your work. We didn't get here easily. This was a very hard road to get where we are right now. Without Madame Rajavi, people sitting there, all of you, we wouldn't be where we are. Well, we're not going to get to the next step without a lot of hard work, but at least now we can see it. We can see the world beginning to turn its eye on Iran and seeing it realistically. We can see being able to convince the world that there are no moderate members of the present Iranian regime. When I hear the word moderate, and I hear the name Rouhani, I think of the fact that he has actually killed more people in Iran than Ahmadinejad. Maybe he shouldn't be so moderate. He's a complete phony. He presents a moderate image to the world, and to the Iranian people, he is a violent, vicious murderer, so they are afraid of him. As Madame Rajavi said, it is long past time to declare the Revolutionary Guard a terrorist organization. They have on their hands the blood of so many of your people, but they have on their hands the blood of my people, too, who they helped to kill in Iraq, and who they've helped to kill for years, and who they've held hostage. If they're not a terrorist organization, there is no such thing as a terrorist organization, and we should declare them a terrorist organization so we can cut them off for support around the world. And time has come for regime change in Iran. Was Mubarak worse than the Ayatollah? And we supported that overthrow, and the world community made the people who did that persons of the year. Was Gaddafi worse than the Ayatollah? He's a really bad man, but he had given up his weapons of mass destruction. He was completely neutered. He was kind of useless. And we got rid of him. The two of them together can't even come close to the number of people the Ayatollah has murdered, to the number of atrocities that he's performed, and to what the Iranian regime has done to its people and to other people, including my countrymen. And that's why there is nothing radical, there's nothing extraordinary. It's just a matter of common sense and self-defense that we say there must be regime change in Iran. It's inevitable. It is going to happen. Regime change in Iran is going to happen. The people of Iran, who you know better than I do, will at some point, they will just rebel. Maybe a few years ago, when they rose up, if we had a leader who had merely said, "We support you," it might have happened. Well, we support you. And it is our job not to affect regime change in Iran. That's going to happen. It's to make it happen now. In our lifetime. So we can come back here next year or the year after, and we can celebrate. And we can celebrate in Iran, and we can celebrate all around the world a free Iran based on the principles that you and I and our countries share. We have an alternative. Not only do we have regime change, but we have an alternative, and that alternative is you. It's a democratic alternative. It's a force for change. It's well organized. It has popular support, and it has a vast network of supporters. And whoever doesn't believe that, I ask them to do two things. Take a look at how many of your fellow compatriots are murdered by the regime. Think of how frightened the regime in Iran is of the MEK. That will tell you how strong you are. And second, come and look at this gathering from all around the world. And once this gets started, it won't just be the MEK. It'll be all those people in Iran, that 90% or 95% or 96 or 97 or maybe 98%, who you know are yearning for the same thing you're yearning for. They want freedom. They want control over their own lives. They want to be able to speak freely. And they want to practice their religion the way they want to, not the way the government tells them. You know your own people better than I do. And you know that's what's in their heart. And it's the murder and the oppression of the government that is stopping that from happening. And we have to break that loose. And supporting the MEK is one of the reasons and one of the ways to break that loose under the leadership of a great hero, Madam Rajavi. So, I'm here today much happier than at any time I have been here, because we no longer have some of our brothers and sisters stuck in Iraq. And again, thanks to the good-heartedness and the wonderful spirit of the Albanian government and people, we can say to them, you're safe. I'm happy that I'm here today because I truly believe what I've said and what Madam Rajavi said and what many of the speakers are going to say, that a freer Iran is on the horizon. But I'm happiest to be here because finally I can say, and I can probably say this with a good deal of authority, that the government of the United States supports you. We're behind you. We agree with your values. The government of the United States understands the danger of Iran. The government of the United States will not allow Iran to become an empire in the Middle East. And the United States of America will not allow Iran to become a nuclear power under any circumstances. This is the first time I could stand here. This is the first time I could stand here and feel proud of my government. Every other time I stood here, I was embarrassed for the cowardice, for the denial, for the unwillingness to see Iran for what it was. And finally, I can stand here and say, you I, my government, and your leadership, we see Iran in exactly the same way. The regime is evil and it must go. Free Iran!